do the work and don't stop. Like just do the work and don't stop. The moment you stop, you've guaranteed that you've stopped your success, right? Because you've stopped working.
What's up, everybody? This is Fred Rachani. We have right here via Zoom a very special guest joining us all the way from down under Australia, Chum Ehelepola. You may know him from a little film called Mulan, and most recently AMC's hit series Nautilus. Chum, thank you so much for joining us. How's everything going?
My pleasure, Fred. My pleasure, brother. Yeah, things are going great. It's 7 in the morning in Australia, so I'm wide awake, perky, ready to go.
I'm sorry, man. I hope we're not doing this against your will here.
I could never do your show against my will, brother. I never could. It's a
Awesome,
pleasure.
man.
Pleasure to be here.
Amazing. Well, before we get to your amazing journey from Australia to Hollywood and back, we got to talk about Nautilus. Great fan reception. Perhaps a second season. We shall see. Can you tell everybody a little bit about the show and your role and how you got involved?
Yeah. So the Nautilus is inspired by Jules Verne's classic 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, um, and it's kind of our adaptation of what of the journey of the Nautilus. So as I said, it's an adaptation. It's an interpretation of it. So um, James, the writer, came up with his own kind of ideas, but it's definitely inspired by the Nautilus and Captain Nemo. So my character is Jagadesh, and he's one of the I don't want to give too much away, but he's one of the rebels that joined Captain Nemo in hijacking the Nautilus. Um, super fun show, and let's just say that when you watch it, every episode you're gonna go on some mad adventure, which is brilliant.
Oh, this is a good show. I think it visually looks great as well. I love like the look
Oh,
and feel of the show, the aesthetics and everything.
it's
Were all those
stunning.
set pieces, or was there some the green screen involved? Do
No,
you mind like pulling
bro.
back the curtain a bit?
Yeah, totally. Most of those are set pieces. That's what's wild
Wow.
about it. That is what is wild about that show. Like I've done some big projects, and most of the time you got like, massive green screens. Don't actually think I can remember any green screens.
Wow.
Like when you go into the Nautilus, right? What you're watching inside the Nautilus, there is nothing green inside that Nautilus.
Wow.
So when we walked in the first day they were showing us a set, I was like looking at one of my boys, I'm like, this is like we could sleep here, we could crash out here. This is like a friggin' hotel. And it's multi-layered, they have a mezzanine layer. That's not VFX. You have to climb up a mezzanine stair. The camera guys have to get up that stair. And now, if you're doing anything in the mezzanine, that is a mezzanine. And if you fall off, you're falling down into the main pit area. And even the monitors, when you look out the window and you see the fish and whatever, that's not a green screen. They were LED lights that they'd set up, and they were like pushing images and stuff like that, just so that we can really get a feel that we're looking at stuff. Um, and then when you go to the captain's room, that is like, yeah, it's a green screen when you're looking out the window, at the big thing, right? But that's legit a set. Like Captain Nemo's plank and stuff like that. And this is a fun little tip. They had set the whole of the captain's rooms on hydraulics, the engine room on hydraulics. So when we get hit by something, this hydraulic would pop up and the whole set, like imagine your house just got doing this. So that was absolutely wild. And the exteriors, they were all legit locations we went to. So the scale of that show, and I think they did it to really give the audience as authentic an experience as possible. Sometimes you watch stuff and you're like, you can feel that it's way too CG. The whole thing feels CG, and you lose connection with it. Not this, man. This is so much of it was real.
No, I love the aesthetics. And I love the lighting as well. You know what I mean? You don't have to adjust your TV. It just looks great. So as an actor, obviously you're always gonna come prepared. You're a professional. But how much more motivating is it to see all these other people on set, the crew take pride in their jobs, especially with the location scouting and the prop masters?
This was a fun show because, like, even in pre when we were there, the wardrobe. I mean, they were fiddling around with the stitch, and they really let all the leads get involved in the design. So they'd be like, "Well, what do you think he would wear? What coat?" So they have a few coats, and you'd be designing it. working with it, all the way through to the lighting and the set construction and everything was just, and it does, man. You make a good point. Like you turn up and you're just so much more invigorated to go deeper in your character and to have those connections. There's a lot of ensemble group pieces that we had to do. But because when you look at your actor, you're not like there's this much set and this much green, right? So you're trying to have to figure your imagination. When you look at him, it's all the set. You don't have to do much imagination. And all the actors were stunning, such good actors. So I'm just reacting to like Arlo or Shazad or someone like that or Georgia. And I just respond to them in a location where they're pulling levers, freaking out. Um, it was really, man, a bit like a kid being in Willy Wonka land, man. As an actor, you turn up and you're like, oh my God, this is all real. Like the pistons in the engine room, huge, like 8-foot pistons are actually pumping. They're like, psh, tss. So when you're watching this 8-foot piston pumping, you're thinking, all right, don't be crap. Like, just be a good actor.
Sounds like an awesome experience, man. And from what I understand too with Nautilus, it was filmed prior and all done prior to AMC even picking it up. So as one of the actors in there, like, were you aware that it was going to get North American distribution, or did it come as a pleasant surprise?
Oh, no, no, no. We knew it was because originally it was done by Disney, right? But I think it was commissioned by Disney UK, the team there, because all the producers and showrunners are UK driven. So I think the scale of the show, we knew immediately this was going to international, right? Through Disney. But then afterwards, we start to hear about, the way the Disney's business model was happening and what they were doing with shows. And I think the Spiderwick Chronicles, Nautilus, and a few other shows got kind of stuck in this really weird limbo with Disney. Um, but then what was really interesting is to see how every territory, every country just picked it up independently, you know? And all of a sudden now I'm just like, oh my God, this isn't like a show on Disney Plus that's everywhere. It's like on in France, it's on Arte, I don't know Arte, I can't remember which one it is. But it went to I think Amazon in the UK, it went to Stan in Australia, went to this place in South Africa, this place in Belgium, and went to AMC in America, And AMC is such a cool network. I've did did a show for them before with Paul Giamatti, and it's just such a cool network to be on.
Yeah, and hey, great lineage too, right? Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Mad Men. The list
Nautilus,
goes
like
on, right? Yeah.
that's a legit network to be on, which I love. I love all of their shows. And I think when I was talking to Michael Matthews, when we found out it had gone on there, and I said to him, I said, no, 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 that is a network. That's a good network to be on because they do some good shows, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And people would check out Nautilus, of course, here in the States on AMC as well as on AMC Plus. But my friend, you're not just an actor. Of course, you're a partner, you're a father, most importantly, but you've also done work behind the camera. And you also run a little group called the Signy Actors Collective, where you mentor up and coming actors. You teach them and help them find their way. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why you decided to do this while you're still very much active in the industry as an actor yourself?
Well, that's a good question, man. Thank you for that. Look, I graduated from high school and I followed the whole kind of brown because we're immigrants. We came from Sri Lanka and we left there in the middle of a war. And so we came to Australia and, it's the whole immigrant story. And so after I graduated high school, I went to university and studied civil engineering. And so I came out as a qualified civil engineer and I hated it. I was just like, nah, man, I cannot do this. And I wanted to be an actor. But by that time, it was kind of too late to go to drama school because I've already spent 5 years in a university. So I moved to Sydney, waited tables, and just did lots of short courses, just as many short courses as possible. And I got success as an actor from this short course system. Um, and I could see immediately, I knew that system really well because I'd done so much of it, but I'd also become successful. So I knew what was good about it and what was really crap about it. And so then I just thought, well, man, I'd love to open up my own short course school um, and try and fix what I thought was crap and really help other actors with what was good. And because I'm successful as an actor, I'm constantly learning on sets. That's what I love about sets, and that's what the school is for. It's not to propagate that I know how to do, acting techniques and stuff like that. No, it's because I go to sets, I learn a lot, I understand the short course system. So most actors can't afford the fees of going to 3 years university to study acting, right? Um, and so when we set it up, it just blew up. Like we have Los Angeles actors, New York, so actors from Finland at the moment, Singapore, because it's on Zoom, so you can kind of work and you get to work to the Australian system, and the Australian actors work so differently to American actors.
I actually learned from a couple actors who are currently very much at work too. So I learned under Mark Rowley and James Northcote, who active in the UK, active in
Yeah.
LA, and it's a different feeling. Not that you can't learn from somebody who's done it before and primarily teaching acting, but it is different because they're able to kind of keep things current and let you know like, okay, this is the current landscape and this is what you need to know when you're on set.
Well, you're exactly right, man. You're exactly right. I was learning from teachers and I learned enough, but the moment I started working with working actors, they were teaching me, bam, like I worked with John Noble, who was Denethor in Lord of the Rings, and he played in um oh God, I forgot what? My mind blank.
All good.
Fringe. He was the doctor, the mad scientist in Fringe. Um, and immediately he would look at a scene, he didn't look at it technically. Most actors don't look at a scene technically. They look at it experientially. Like, how do I experience that? How do I get into that? How do I, instead of technically, and that's what the big thing we focus on is, we're too much in our heads, bro. Like when I did Nautilus, I loved it because I stayed out of my head, because you can get into a set like that, you can get so overwhelmed by what's going on that when you start acting, you're in your head, and you're not experiencing the rebellion or experiencing the attack from the octopus or experiencing being chased by these guards. You're just thinking about how to say and what to say. And so I think when we work in the studio, it's constantly about how do you get out of your head and into your body. That's like this magic how, right? And because when you're in your body, bro, you're not thinking, you're just playing. Everything's about playing. And in Nautilus, every time got in my body, I did this thing where I didn't learn my lines the night before. I learned them in the trailer. And someone was like, "What?" So in my hotel room, I would familiarize myself, but I wouldn't learn it. And the reason why is when I came in and did costume, my costume changed me completely. Then I'd go into my trailer and look at myself. Then I'd start learning the lines. And rhythmically, it was Jagadesh, my character, that was learning them. Whereas otherwise, I'll be Chum learning them. And my cadence and intonation is going to be me, right? Whereas when I'm this guy getting it, it's just going in differently. Then when they take me to set and I start acting, it's like the first time I've done it. And it becomes so wildly fresh. It becomes so scary to be doing these lines kind of for the first time while the camera's rolling. But I've got a real life world around me. Why would I not want to take advantage of that? I mean, it's a dangerous way of doing it, I get it, but I've been acting for a while, so I felt confident,
So you're trying to flex and say that you have fantastic memory?
basically.
Wow. So you actually were a professional civil engineer, and you just said, "Oh, like I can't. I got to go into acting." Look, I'm Lebanese, so I understand the whole like immigrant
Oh, really?
mentality.
You get
Hey,
it
you have
right.
to,
You get
when
you
you
get it.
you do anything that deviates from like the math, the science, the business, it's like, oh my gosh. So how did your family
Shame.
react when you're like, you know what, mom and dad, I'm gonna be an actor now?
Oh, let's say that your Lebanese experience basically played out in my Sri Lankan house. Like it was exactly what you think it was. My dad got jacked at me. He was like, "We're going back to Sri Lanka. We didn't come here. See, you could be an actor." And at the time as well, it's not like you turned Australian television on and saw my face a lot. So they were like, "There's no work," um, and just basically, how dare you? How dare you? And straight after I graduated, I went to London actually. I started as a dancer. So I was dancing in Covent Gardens and learning, just doing classes with amazing dancers and stuff like that. And yeah, then when I came back, I had to go to Sydney. And my dad was like, legit, nah, man, I'm not into this. I don't like what you're doing. But I just stood strong. I said, Dad, I'll succeed. You know what I mean? Like, I'll succeed. I appreciate what you and Mum have done to get us out of a war-torn country. Like that as a parent is crazy to be in war and go, how do we do this? How do we give up everything we've built and just walk away from it? And start somewhere with no guarantees, right? And then your eldest son decides to go and be an actor. Like, but my mum passed away a few years ago, and she just like loved what I did by the end of it. And my dad, fully on board now. He just loves it, and he watches all the shows. So that's nice. It's a really beautiful full circle moment.
I love it. I'm glad they ended up on board. God rest their soul, and that's great. So you're Sri Lankan. So did you grow up in Sri Lanka at first? Did you go to Australia? How did this all play out? Because I know you were also in LA for a while. Now you're back in Australia. Where did you start professionally, and where did you set your sights on?
Oh man, it's a little bit lost in my timeline. My wife knows it better. I think I was just in a bit of trauma around war. So I just have kind of like lost what was going on. I remember at one stage like being in Sri Lanka in a boarding house, just me and my brother. My mum was in Australia with my sister, and my dad was working around Sri Lanka. So I was like 8 and he was 5, and we were in a boarding house by ourselves. And we heard bombs going off outside. So yeah, so you're just kind of like, what? What's happening? Um, then the timeline is we then I think left Sri Lanka, went to Australia, came back to Sri Lanka, went to New Zealand, blah blah blah, right? And then I think we settled in Australia. And then I worked in Australia a lot, and I think I was kind of like ready for a big challenge. I think ethnically, we just at that time hadn't really understood how to really get true diversity on television. But at the time, out of Australia, I was auditioning for big US shows and really interesting characters. And so I moved over to Los Angeles, and we loved it there. Both my kids are Cali kids. They were born in Cedar Sinai, and my wife and I were living there. I was working there. Things were great. And then I don't know if you've heard of this thing called COVID. Did you guys hear of COVID?
I think I may have read about it. Yeah.
You read about it? Just Google it. It's kind of this weird thing. It's really you would have blinked and missed it. So then COVID happened. The whole business stopped, and that's when my wife and I were like, I think we need to go back to Australia. And there's the lockdown. I mean, we had lockdown laws. LA didn't. You could just do whatever you wanted. Whereas over here, if you were in a postcode, you couldn't cross into the postcode. You'd get fined. So if you're in like Los Feliz, right, 90027, you can't head over to West Hollywood. You're going to get a fine if you went to West Hollywood. Um, and it sounds nuts, but it was a really cool way where they kept it really safe. Like we were all, and funny where I live, our postcode here, 2550, is the size of Lebanon.
Wow.
My Lebanese friend was him told me that. So yeah, so we ended up here, and now that the borders have opened up, because Australia wouldn't let you leave as well. So I'd finished a TV show here, and I got 2 shows in the US. And I was like, sorry, man, I physically can't get out of Australia. They've closed the border. I can't come back in. So it was a wild time. Um, but now, LA's mad back on the cards again. My kids want to go back. They're getting older. Um, and I'll be there in a few weeks. So yeah, definitely. And I want my kids to travel. I want them to see the world. We're going to Fiji next week to go spend 5 days on a yacht. Um, so just want to take them traveling and really enjoy life.
I love that you open their mind and everything. They didn't have, thankfully, they didn't have to go through some of the things you went through as a child and everything else. So, is that important to you too, as a father? To yeah, you're blessed with this great life. You're a working actor. Obviously things aren't always easy, but you're doing your best. But now to be able to pay it forward and whatever they want to do, whether it's acting or not, that they're able to see the world and have an open mind.
Man, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Um, my wife and I were talking about it. We're like, with AI and freaking Bitcoin and crypto, I don't know what future they're living in. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're gonna be. I don't even know what jobs are available anymore. So I think what my wife and I have decided is the more worldly our children are, the more it's like street smarts they have, the more they're going to know what to do as the environment changes, right? Like our universities, our colleges even going to be um, important anymore. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. So what we want to do is just give our kids experiences, as much experiences as possible, and they can decide if they like it or don't like it, you know? Like right now, my son's playing basketball, but he wants to be the lead in the school play, but he also wants to learn stop motion animation. And my daughter wants to be a skateboarder and a ballet dancer and an MMA fighter, like she's doing jujitsu right now and she's 8. Like, so just let them do these things, let them do, and hopefully wherever they land, they'll land. Instead of me trying to force onto them what I think they should do when I have no idea what this joint's going to look like in 10 years, man. You could be a robot. I could be a robot. We could be two robots talking to each other and people are watching it, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. We could be like Cyberpunk 2077. We're chromed up or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally fully chromed up.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, hey, you guys are great parents, and God bless. And I love that you're there for your kids and continue to put them first, and despite all the professional challenges and the changes in the world and everything else. And if I may divert for a second, my actual background is as far as like media goes, is MMA. That's where I got my start. I used to work on the
Yes.
digital side of like the Ultimate Fighter and Bellator MMA. So I gotta ask, are you an MMA fan? And two,
Yeah, I love MMA.
do you rep your boys? Jack Della Maddalena, Volkanovski, and Robert Whitaker.
Oh my God, I follow all of them. Robert Whittaker, I love him. Um,
We had him on the show before. Awesome, awesome guy.
did you?
My friend's husband is actually his training partner in jiu-jitsu. So it's like super small world.
No way. You know who I did know? The Hulk, so the Hulk Palelei.
Oh,
And
he's great. Yeah.
he was a heavyweight and he fought a couple of times in heavyweight at MMA,
Oh, I
right?
remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he took on some big boys. And then he called me up and he goes, "Bro, I've got to do this film with Jackie Chan. Can you help me act?" Right? And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I sat down and I did the scene Pulp Fiction, the one with Samuel Jackson, right? And I said, so you got to come up and like, scare me. And he starts trying to scare me and he's acting and blah, blah. And I'm like, no, man, like you got to. Anyway, so I talked about the idea of get out of your head and into your body, right? So I got him into spot. And I just basically said to him, what would it look like if I was one of those fighters that you just hated? And you go to bed and you know you're going to take me on tomorrow and you're just dreaming about friggin' knocking me out or choke holding me to sleep and holding it a couple of extra seconds longer than you should, or arm barring me and feeling the tendon snap. Like, who? And he goes, he's sitting there and he goes, I saw his eyes and I'm like, oh, he's got someone. I said, okay, what if I was that guy? And just let your body do whatever it wants to. Just let it and do the lines. And he turns to me, Fred, and he goes, and he did the scene. Dude, I absolutely shit the bed. I was like, this is what it feels like to have a heavyweight who feel like they're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
And he was just like came in and I was like, and he finished, I'm like, what was it like? He's like, man, that was so good. That was so great. Because the Aussie big fighters, they're like teddy bears, man. They're big teddy bears, the sweetest people in the world, but you don't want to with them.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I really love MMA. And I even said something, it feels like it's kind of acting, right? Because I'm an MMA fighter before they go to fight is like an actor before you call action.
Mhm.
It's the same thing because you're wondering what you're about to do. You're wondering if you're gonna mess this up. You've got a mission and a goal, but you don't kind of like you get one chance at it. Now, sure, if an actor gets knocked out, we can cut and we can redo it. A fighter can't, right? So that they've got more at stake there. But that opening moment when you go in, for me, is so invigorating. It's so fun before action because you're like, I don't know what's about to happen. I definitely haven't planned what I'm gonna do. I'm that kind of actor. So let's see what they do and let's see what I do. Um, but yeah, I love MMA, man. I watched UFC Zero, the very first one, where Hoist Gracie, and those boys were coming out, and there was literally no rules. You
Oh
know when that
man.
guy
So you're.
he gets his tooth kicked out by that karate guy, he's laying on the ground, he just goes bam.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
like full. Yeah.
Yeah, I love those old school guys. I've probably talked to Dan the Beast Severin like a dozen times, and the guy is like so cool. And like and the current guys are cool, they're all right, but there's a lot of dudes that are kind of like edge lords and try to just be intentionally like cringe, but those OGs, man, or something. Ken Shamrock,
Are you kidding
Mark
me? You
Coleman,
look at
man.
Ken Shamrock, Chuck Liddell, and those guys, and you're like, these guys were like true MMA fighters.
Yeah.
Like, just, I mean, I'm not saying they're not true MMA fighters now, they are, but they're just so technically unbelievable now, right? Like, you're learning massive disciplines. Whereas back then, if you were doing Kempo, you were doing Kempo. If you were doing karate, you were doing karate. If you were
You
doing
were learning on the
jiu-jitsu,
job. Yeah.
that's it, man. And all of a sudden, a karate guy gets taken to the ground, they're dead. They're finished, you know. But a Kempo guy stands up, you're dead because you're that guy's going to finish you. And I love that now. It's really great, but they're way too skilled as fighters for me to kind of feel like I know what I'm watching here.
I know, I know. Well, hey, I love that you go way back as well. And again, you're Australian based. Shout out to I'll throw out an obscure name that was good back in the day, George Sotiropoulos. You know,
Oh my
that dude can
God,
fight.
George Sotiropoulos is amazing.
Yeah, that dude had a good streak going back in the day. Okay,
Yeah.
so hey, your dad. We're both a little north of 30, to say the least. How
Yes,
inspiring was it to see your boy Alexander Volkanovski at what, like 35, 36, become the oldest champion in the lighter weight classes?
loved it. Absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. Also, for me, I support the underdogs, right? And now what's happening is the older you get, the more of an underdog you become, right? Especially as a fighter. Um, so when I see people like Volkanovski coming out at that age and going, nah, no way. You know what I mean? And then age as a fighter gives you an advantage that you don't, where you can control your nerves. You know, you can control your nerves. And if you're stuck in a weird spot or a weird hold, that the calmness can help you get out. Whereas a young kid's like wasting, expelling a lot of energy, just bucking, right? Um, so when I saw him win, I was just like, this is great. And I know that, you know, it's you're gonna lose soon and that's it, you know, and you kind of, but um yeah, man, just watching these Aussie fighters and just seeing how they're repping Australia overseas. Um, it's amazing. You know, I really love seeing them because I
Yeah.
know where they come from. You know, we still haven't got that great pedigree in here in MMA. It's still a little bit of a, you know, you're in a training center that feels like you're in some backyard shed kind of vibe. But man, they are really doing well.
No, absolutely. And of course, how could I forget Israel Adesanya? Shout out to him, the style bender, future Hall of Famer. You know.
Like, come on, you know what I mean? Kiwi, you know. So I get to tap into my New Zealand roots. Um, I mean, look, when you got someone like the style bender coming out and not just winning, but calling himself out as a possible GOAT, you know what I mean? And great fighters go, no, no, I think he might be a GOAT. Like, how do you stop that guy? I mean, you can, but still out of New Zealand. You know what I mean? A little of New Zealand, he comes out like that. I love stories and examples like that. I sometimes feel I'm a little bit like, how did I, coming from what I've come from and kind of like being who I am, manage to get on big Hollywood projects, you know? And I think um, hearing stories like those guys, Stylebender and these guys, I feel encouraged, I feel invigorated, I feel hopeful for myself when I see people like Volkanovski and these guys doing amazing things. Um, as I said, I love MMA because I feel like what they're going through in some ways and what I'm going through, I feel like I can relate.
Definitely high pressure situations for sure. Yeah, I love that. I could talk to you about MMA all day. Of course, Nautilus streaming right now on AMC Plus, and of course you can watch it on AMC on cable. Chum, you've been so gracious with your time. Before we let you go, we always like to ask our guests some kind of random and rapid fire questions just to get to know them better. Are you ready?
Yeah. Ready, go, I'm ready.
All
I'm ready.
right.
Let me see. I'm straight.
All right. There you go.
Throw it.
Favorite late night snack or cheat meal?
Potato crisps.
Okay. All right. I was going to ask you what your alternative career path would have been, but obviously it was previously a civil engineer. So besides civil engineering, what would have been
Yes.
your alternative career path had you never become an actor?
Music. My wife says like I can pick up any instrument and just start playing it. Not amazingly, but it feels like I know how to work it. So I think music, definitely
Oh,
music.
okay, very cool. Very
Hmm.
cool. What would you say is your most challenging role? Or has been your most challenging role, I should say.
Wow, that's a good question. I don't think. Any roles of ooh, this one challenged me because of who I had to become. It was a show called Stateless, which was done with Kate Blanchett, and I had to play a people smuggler. And we were in East Timor shooting this, and that was tough because I they had these extras and mums with their babies, and the background, the baby was crying, and the mum's trying to, and I'm about to play a scene where I'm going to put you on a boat and the boat's going to sink and I'm going to take all your money. And I was like, I got so freaked out on set that I started running around giving all the background mothers and kids waters. Like I was like a runner. I turned into a runner. I was like, do you want a water? Do you want a water? Do you want a water? Say, have a water, have a water. And I was like looking after all this background who I felt like I was about to kill. And I got a real insight as to what it is to be like, to be that level of desperation. And I'll never forget that. And I went back to my hotel and I was like, I think I'm gonna cry. That was a lot. That was full on. Um, but I, love the experience because I think as artists we're here to tell stories about what's happening in the real world, right?
Mhm.
And hopefully make audiences realize, wow, this is what's happening. This is what we can't, close our eyes to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I do love the fact that too, it seems like you have a good balance of like, yeah, okay, you got to get into the character, but when that camera's off, like, hey, it's back to real life, and you're kind of aware of that rather than getting lost in the characters.
Oh, Fred, that to me is the most integral part. Like I can't do this whole I don't know, that like method gone wrong. You know what I mean? Where I never leave the character and blah blah blah. Because you're like, then it's not fun. Like you've used character for 3 months, then you've lost 3 months of your life with your child. And I'm pretty sure the child's not going to go, I loved it when dad came home and he was a serial killer. It was awesome. Like, no, I think, when you get to work, you get to work. It's like a lawyer coming home and still being a lawyer at home with their kids. You're like, that's weird. Um, like when we were shooting Mulan, all the other cast would have massive training days with fights, horses, blah blah, and they go to their hotels, have deep plunges in their beautiful thing, tubs. They'll meet downstairs, and they all collectively go to these amazing restaurants. I'd walk home to my house. I'd get in there, the door would open, my wife would put one child in front of me, bath downstairs, dinner in one hour. You're like, okay, straight downstairs, bathing there. Hey guys, come upstairs, have dinner. And then my wife and I would snuggle and chat about our day at 9 o'clock, and I had a 5 o'clock pickup the next morning. So like, nah, man, I'm like in on set, you are the character. You go hard. You don't think about other things. But when you rap, you be a nice person in between takes. You be a nice person to every actor. If your character hates this character, that doesn't mean the actor has to hate the actor. And you have to look after people. And so yeah, yeah, definitely, I can't do that. And when I see actors doing it, I'm like, see ya. I don't want to talk to you. I'm going to be over here. Don't come and do your BS on me, so you can feel like you're in character and you can do your next scene. I'm not your puppet, man. You can see that I've got some trauma. I've had it done to me a few times. I'm
Oh
like,
man, I
you
can
know what I mean?
imagine.
Like, I'm sure you've seen them.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you follow like pro wrestling, but it's like some guys like live the gimmick, right? Like Hulk, like not a Hulk Hogan fan, but Hulk Hogan to the end like lived the gimmick. Like, and there was like a compilation of like all his different lies he told like in character. And at that point, you didn't know like, okay, is he telling the truth? Who is this guy? Am I really talking to Terry or am I talking to Hulk? I feel like a lot of like actors, some well not a lot, but some actors and wrestlers like get that way where it's like, okay, like lights are off, you know what I mean? Cameras off, like who you working here? You know what I mean? Like go
That's
back to real life. It's unhealthy.
It's unhealthy, man. And acting's a job, Fred. It's a job. It's not who you are. It's not what makes you or breaks you. It's just a job. I can quit tomorrow
Yeah.
and go and, like I bought a pizza restaurant and we flipped a restaurant.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
was like, that was fun being a restaurateur. And I can do that because I have this cool job that gives me a lot of money and I can go and buy a restaurant. Like, but I'm not going, oh my God, I'm an actor, I'm the best, because we know that you could drop tomorrow, and be unemployed just like that. But um, yeah, man, it's just a job. It's a cool job. The most important job is to be a nice person. And I think acting can make people lose sight of you got to be a nice person, man. Got to be a healthy father, a good husband, create. create something because we think as actors, I've created a show. I've got 4 shows. I'm amazing. I'm like, no, dude, you didn't create it. You were part of it. Everyone created it. You didn't create it. What you did create was a child. You're right. And what are you going to do there? How are you going to give that person a life while you're part of a team creating a show? It's not your show. It's everyone's show. It's your child. It's your wife. It's your husband. Like focus.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. No. Very, very well said. I love that. And yeah, and I love the fact you brought up family as well, right? Because like you can't. It sounds like you came from a great family. God bless them. But you can't choose your family. The only family you could choose technically is your partner, and then to choose if you want to have kids. And so when you're blessed to have those in your life, like you got to appreciate them, and that's your priority.
Man, that is so true. You know what I mean? That's like my family now is my wife and my 2 kids.
Yeah.
And I still have my dad, my brother, my sister, I do. But I see my wife and kids every single day, right?
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I put, effort into who they become. And I think also the fun thing is letting my kids come in to see my job. Like they came onto the Nautilus set, right, Fred?
Oh,
And it was so lovely because COVID, so it was hard to get in, but the producers were like, of course, come in. And they arranged it. And it was a day when everyone else was shooting out on location. So 4 sound stages weren't being used. And we went in, and the tech guys were so lovely. They came in and they turned all the hydraulics and lights and everything on just for the kids. And so they're standing inside the Nautilus, or they're standing in the enemy boat. They're in the engine rooms, and it's going off lights. And my daughter had to leave. It was too real for her. She's like,
wow.
I have to leave. And my son and daughter staring at me like, what does dad do? This is and in Mulan, I said, come and watch me fight train. So the kids came, right? And they were watching us do a fight training. But we had no idea, but we were doing a costumes and weapons test that day. No one told me. So while the kids were there fighting with the other Shaolin temple fighters, like they were playing with them, flipping and stuff. I was like, what? I'm out getting rigged up and wigged up and everything. And then I walk out and dude, I'm in this long wig, full uniform, swords and everything. And I walk out and my son just stares at me like, and I just walk out and my son's like, oh my God. Then I start fighting and I've got like 20 ninjas flying at me and we're just like going through the corridor, the knife, the blah, blah, flip. And my 5-year-old son and my 3-year-old daughter are just staring at dad, right, in this gym, beating up 20 people. And that day he went to school and they had to like, what does your dad do for school, for work? And they're like, my dad's an accountant, my dad's a lawyer, my dad. And he goes, my dad's a ninja. And in his mind, I'm a straight up ninja. Like,
Yeah.
so he went on, and they're like, no, he's not. No, no, I saw him fighting. He's a ninja. To me, those are the acting experiences I'll never forget. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's a huge reason why I want to do this job, to let my kids know that you can do whatever you want to do. You can. Just got to be prepared to do the work. Most people aren't prepared to do the work. You got to do the work. I mean, you know it, Fred, right? It's not easy, dude. Like you got to do the work. It's not an easy job.
Yeah, no, 100%. That is amazing. Definitely winning Dad of the Year, several years straight, I'm sure, back
Yeah,
home. And yeah, you mentioned Mulan, so it sounds like Mulan was obviously Mulan's Mulan, right? It's an iconic
yeah,
IP, Disney. Enough
yeah,
said
yeah.
there, but it sounds like overall, just as an actor and from the family's experience, was pretty incredible, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was great. Like I got to work with Nikki Caro, who's this amazing director. I think she's brilliant, one of the world's best directors. With New Zealand for 8 months. Became really tight with a lot of people there. Utkarsh Ambudkar, who's played alongside with me. He's the lead of Ghosts at the moment now. So him and I are super tight, really tight friends, and for me it was like great because I got to um like meet some really interesting, cool, fun people.
Great. Well, we'll get you around a couple high notes. First,
Yep.
what's your best piece of advice for success?
But you've also got to keep doing the work. And I think as an actor, we're going to spend a lot more time not working than working. Like that's the truth. And so in that time, what most actors do is they stop and they just get really down. And that's the time when you want to do classes. That's the time when you want to just keep working on smaller projects. Maybe go do some indie theater. Maybe do just you know, like, and when you're working, but I think you got to constantly be doing the work. Like I've been doing this for decades now, and it doesn't mean I don't do the work. You still have work to do, and I don't stop. So I think for anyone out there, especially when you're feeling like so beaten and down by this whole thing, and that you're like everyone else is getting a shake and I'm not. It is true. They're booking and you're not. And there's going to come a time when you're booking and they're not. But to compare, that's where you get caught in hell, right? It's like whatever they're doing, let them do. Whatever they're doing, let them do. What are you doing? What am I doing? Right. And if what I'm doing is in alignment with where I want to go and I have integrity with it, um, and then I think, well, it's worked for me anyway, right? When I didn't stop and kept doing the work, I succeeded. That's what kind of, yeah, that's it.
Well said. Love it. And we got to share another high note for anybody that hasn't already been convinced. Why should people watch Nautilus?
Well, man, first of all, right, this is important to me. I walked into the production and I saw, yes, you know, when you walk into production or makeup, you'll see all the headshots, right, of the main cast. And I looked up at those headshots and I was like, oh my God, I have not seen a show with this much diversity. And it was beautiful to watch. And it wasn't, as I said in an interview before, it wasn't diversity because, like Shogun's beautifully diverse, right? But it's Japanese, right? So it's going to have a lot of Japanese actors in it. Um, Game of Thrones is going to diverse, but we're set in Europe, right? This was a show was not set anywhere. That's what's going to blow your mind about Nautilus. It's not, it's set in the ocean. I mean, you can't have more of a metaphor for diversity than the friggin' ocean, right? It's in the ocean and they visit different pockets of land and you don't know what country this land is. So when you're looking at this cast, it's a beautiful representation of what our world should be ethnically and diverse. No one's in there for tokenistic reasons. They're in there because that's just life, right? And people have accents, not because we have accents, because we come from different places in the world. And that's what makes it beautiful. So I think you should watch Nautilus, first of all, to see what a world looks like where it's a bit of a cultural utopia, right? That everyone looks how it should. And then, yes, when you cut to the English, they look as they look, but that's part of the structure of the show, right? To show that. Um, so definitely watch it to support, not even support in the way, oh, support diversity, but to kind of like be inspired by a show that actually went there and said, we are going to put as much color from white, black, brown, Asian, everything was there. And you're like, that just, I walked in going, this, I can't wait to see it. Then when you start watching the show and the VFX, the whole collection of everything, the direction, the each department's work, you're going to see it. You're going to see each department's work in an unbelievable way. And it's fun. And it's so much fun. Like we had fun. Richard E. Grant, who I look up to so much, his acting is amazing, was on set. And next thing you know, 2 days later, him and I are playing tennis. And so I'm playing tennis with Sir Richard, you know, like, and he's telling me about how he has to go to Buckingham Palace and do a jubilee for the Queen. And I was just like, this is so much fun, man. I'm playing tennis with a guy I look up to. This is like really cool. So watch Nautilus because it is culturally amazing and visually stunning.
Amazing. Well said. Chum, thank you so much for your time. Bonus question.
Good.
Is there anything you wish I asked you in this interview?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that question. How cool is that? Brother, no, man. No. I just like talking. I could sit here and talk with you for the next few hours.
Yeah,
It's
hey,
heaps of fun. You're a cool person. You get an
thank you,
interesting
man.
point of view. Talking about MMA was fun. I wasn't expecting that.
Hey,
I was,
when you said Hoist Gracie, my ears perked up. I was like, all right, we gotta talk a little bit more.
yeah, yeah,
Amazing,
yeah.
man.
If you're dropping Hoist Gracie, okay, this guy knows a little bit about it.
I love it. I love it. Well, Chump, thank you so much for your time. You can check him out on Nautilus on AMC and AMC Plus. Where can we find you online, sir? And if you're allowed to talk about it, where can we find you next?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, and it's just basically at Chum Ehelepola. IG is probably the best. I've got a few projects coming out soon. I've got Spa Weekend, a couple of seasons with Anna Faris. coming out. Another one called Sunny Nights with Will Fort that'll be coming out soon. So yeah, so got a couple of projects that are going to be popping up, but I'm sure I don't know when they're being released. I don't know when they're coming out. I just go and act in them, but I know I did them. And they will be coming out. So I'm sure your viewers, if they're interested to see what I'm doing, it's probably just a Google type away.
Amazing. Chum, thank you so much, man. It was an absolute pleasure.
Man, it's an absolute pleasure, Fred. Thanks so much for inviting me, man. It's a beautiful work you do. I loved it. I was very excited to do this.